Malam Kabir Sufi for a breakdown of some of the grey areas identified.
Mr. Chairman, permit me to greet my contemporaries in the language that they understand, and I hope they will answer me in that same language that they have answered their contemporaries. Great Nigerian youth, great Nigerian youth, great Nigerian youth, of the greatest and the greatest of the greatest of the greatest Nigerian youth. You see, I want to say, I want to affirm, I want to confirm, I want to reaffirm to you that the gathering we are having here today for me is like a reunion. A reunion of my teachers, my colleagues, my friends, my students, and my everything. The chairman of the occasion today is one of those that made me what I am. And let me give you a brief story before I discuss the paper. In 1991, I saw on a national daily an advert for a Nigerian National Merit Award, for nomination into the Nigerian National Merit Award. And the first person that came to my mind at that time was the national president of ASU, then Dr. Tahiru Jega. For the ASU strikes and what it had achieved in the 1990s, I approached him and said, "Sir, there is this advert for Nigerian National Merit Award and I feel I should nominate you." And with all modesty, he said no. And I said, "Why, sir?" He said, "Because there are more deserving academics for the award." And he said, "Why don't you nominate people like Professor Claude Aki?" I had not read much about Claude Aki at that time. But I said, let me go and find out more about Claude Aki. I started with reading social science as imperialism. I read the political economy of Africa. I read democracy and political development. I read the marginalization of Africa. I went on and on and on and on. And since then, I have never looked back. I read about almost everybody. And anytime I want to nominate anybody for anything, I will think deeper and I will try to look whether there are more deserving people. As a result of that thinking imposed on my mind by Professor Tahiru Jega. Thank you very much, sir. Late Professor Claude Aki later died in 1996 in a plane crash along with my fellow comrade, Malam Bube Bello of the Research Department of Central Bank of Nigeria. May his soul rest in peace. Now, the representative of the ENA, my friend, my classmate, Dr. Kano, Alhaji Mohammed Aliyu, I once again wish to recognize you. Alhaji Dasuki Imam was with me in the progressive network, which we call ProNet, and Professor here was also with me very recently at a roundtable. I mean, when I look around, it's just like a reunion, and I thank each and every one of you for coming, and I hope we will take a lot from this lecture. I have been writing notes, and I saw the prof and almost everybody are making notes from the paper, and I don't even know where to start. The chairman, of course, told us that the topic is timely, and of course, it is also appropriate. The role of Nigerian youth in the quest for political and economic transformation, which he, the presenter, referred to 60 million youth. What next? Or what for? Yes, because there are two questions there. Have we really harnessed these 60 million youth? And I think it's an African thing. Of all the examples that he gave us were from mostly Latin America, Argentina, Brazil. And recently, when the founder of Facebook came to Africa, it became like a paradox. Our aged African leaders were posing to take selfie with this young entrepreneur from America. And nobody is thinking of building young entrepreneurs in Africa. It was the greatest paradox that we can ever have. So I think that all those questions you raised were more of African things, because most of the examples, 70 to 80%, Argentina to Brazil, were mostly from Latin America. So I think it's a wake-up call for African youth. The Prof said that interesting things are happening, and he said that those interesting things included letters from wherever. And he said he doesn't know what the interesting thing will be today. I think the interesting thing today is that we are reviewing the role of youth in political and economic governance in Nigeria here. This is the interesting thing for me today. I don't know whether something else will come later in the day. He talked about the absence of world view, and that is what brought about narrow view. And I think that is the reality of the situation. I was with one elder statesman one time when politicians from his village came to him protesting that same youth wing that Prof said any party that has youth wing or women wing, do not go for that party. Now, they came to him, they were protesting that the youth wing of their party was headed by a 65-year-old man. They said it was an irony, and they were there to protest that being a party leader, he should check that. Now, he replied them with a greater irony. And he said that the question of youth is a relative term. He said, yes, a young man in politics is quite an old man in football. He said, when the Ghanaian star, what was his name, that featured in the World Cup in his 40s, the whole world was shocked that a 40-year-old man was still playing soccer. And he said that in politics, a 40-year-old man is too young to be elected into any party post. And I said, sir, this is a greater irony to what they were protesting. And I joined them in protesting against what he was saying. I said, this position you are canvassing is like taking our youth to a political Siberia. The youth should be the backbone of politics, as emphasized by the professor here. The youth should be the backbone of anything meaningful for the society. Any meaningful development cannot be achieved without the active participation of the youth. Then there was an irony from the presentation. I think our future, or the future of the Nigerian youth, has been mortgaged. Because, like Prof has said, the founding director of the FBI said that blessed are the youth, for they will inherit the national debt. And we are all inheriting over 20 trillion naira debt. So our future has been mortgaged. He raised so many questions, so many poses. A country that 66% of its national revenue is going for debt servicing. I mean, a country that whose population is growing faster than its GDP, a country that will soon be 400 million people, and this is not a country that is expanding. There is no room for expansion. I don't know. Professor Jega once told us about food crisis. I can't even imagine whether there will be food crisis. And I remember Al-Qasim Abba said that when we are looking at this population explosion in Nigeria, he said that there may come a time in Nigeria when you will have food in your pocket and when you will have money in your pocket and there will be no food to buy. But I think it will be worse than that. There may come a time in Nigeria when there will be no food and there will be no money. Prof gingered the youth to go and get their PVC. And I want to remind you that INEC just told us that the rumors going around that continuous voter registration will end on the 31st of January, it was false. Continuous voter registration is ongoing. And what Prof has said, most of the youth today do not have their PVC. Very recently in a bank, someone came, he had no identification, and he was asked that let him go and bring, even if it was a PVC, and the young man had no PVC. Let us all go and get our permanent voter cards. With that, or without that, we cannot do anything. We cannot change anything. We'll continue taking, we'll have the desire to change, but we will not change anything. Prof told us that the role of the government is to create enabling environments. Government does not give or provide jobs, but government can create an enabling environment for jobs to be created. He's talking about a more digital or a more modern government. And he's saying that our own concept or our own view of government has to change. That we should stop thinking about government. Government that will give 5,000 naira, that idea should change. But government should create an enabling environment where jobs will be created for our teeming youth. This morning, I heard it over the news about the 500 billion naira venture capital fund, but it wasn't clearly explained in the news the way the Prof has said it today. And I hope someone will look into this private-public partnership and will give it a try. If we can spare 500 billion naira for, to be given 5,000 naira to people, I think we can try 500 billion naira venture capital fund and see where it will take us. He talked about the youth voting and contesting, two major things, informal and civil society actions, as well as participation in politics. The youth should vote and the youth should also contest. Talked about the Not Too Young to Run bill. Most importantly, Prof told us that the youth must build themselves. He said that without regrets, all the qualifications that he mentioned, he can brandish them anywhere. And these are part of his achievements. And this is what he is thinking of our youth, that they should build themselves for a better Nigeria, in his words. He told us the qualities of leaders that we are going to look for. Anybody that comes out to contest for any position, from local government chairman to the president, we should look at these four qualities: character, competence, capacity, and his track record. So it is very important you build yourselves, because we are talking about the youth participating, youths contesting. Now, the youths, for them to contest, they must be able to start building themselves early. So I believe that that is also something to be looked into. I look forward to, Prof talked about the old narrative about Nigerian history and how some of those old narratives can be changed, and which he called dealing with history. And I am happy he said he's writing about it. And we are now talking, we are engaging ourselves, and I hope this talk and engagements will now bring out better perspectives of things. D.K. Chukwumeriji recently in a TED talk also talked about this old narrative and that is still haunting us, and that we need to re-engage ourselves. We need to, have better perspective of issues. I believe that when you write, you will have rejoinders. You will have, it will also be another form of engagement. I may also read it, and I may also write a rejoinder. Expect a rejoinder from me if what you mentioned in dealing with history is not what I think or I believe in. The Arab Spring dilemma captured my mind and captured my attention. Yes, I was wondering, I was hoping to see a new Tunisia. I was hoping to see a new Maghreb with the Arab Spring. But 2-3 years later, the old order has taken control again. The young man that burnt himself for nothing. The youth came out to the streets, protested, and at the end of the day, nothing changed, because the youth were not prepared for leadership. What Prof is telling us is that we should be prepared for leadership. We should be prepared to take over the mantle of leadership. so that we will not have a repeat of what happened in the Arab Spring. The Arab Spring dilemma is very real. And I've also been wondering what happened to the Maghreb states. Lastly, he talked about the debate between mental and stomach infrastructure. And I believe that yes, Prof, the only thing stomach infrastructure guarantees is you going to the toilet. But the only thing mental infrastructure guarantees is that it will take the whole nation further. I want to say that, yes, Prof, what you have said today has confirmed to me that yes, bad leaders do not fall from heaven. They are made in this world. So if we want to have good leaders, we should make good leaders. And we should start now, and we should start with the Nigerian youth. This number he has mentioned is enough to wake us up. 60 million Nigerian youth for what? 60 million Nigerian youth, what next? I want us to go and think, and I want us to take the challenge and face the future squarely. Thank you very much.
That was Dr. Sufi Said. Can we put our hands together once again for him? I have spoken.
I wanted to say the introduction you gave of Mohammed Kabir Abdullah was not adequate. The young man you are seeing today is a lecturer in the Department of Private Law, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and one of the youngest lawyers to contest and win case in the Nigerian Supreme Court, Barrister Mohammed Kabir Abdullah. I'm happy to be seated next to you.
Thank you very much for that introduction of MK Abdullah. MK Abdullah, like I said, is a perfect gentleman, and there's hardly any words we can use to actually describe him properly. The discussion or the addition by Dr. Sufi Said is necessary when you have people like Professor Kingsley Moghalu speak. When people like Professor Kingsley Moghalu, who have been for so many years away from home, speak, you need somebody to talk, somebody that will localize the content of the discussion. And that was why Dr. Said Sufi discussions became almost imperative. Having said that, we'll go into the next lane of this discussion, which is that we'll be taking a number of questions from members of the audience. For the panelists, we have a special platform where about 70 to 80% of those of you sitting at the high table will be afforded the opportunity to speak at length as far as the discussion is concerned. In the meantime, while the discussion was going on by Dr. Sufi Said, another special guest came in, a person of Omar Tijani Falki. Can we put our hands together for him? Omar Tijani Falki is the chairman Tijani Falki Biochemical Trading Company. Thank you very much, sir, for honoring our invitation. I don't know, we start from the high table. If there is any contribution that is, okay, let's say imperative, that we must take, then we will be glad to take it now. Otherwise, we will have a special platform where the able Professor Atahiri Jega would like to say one or two things on the last topic. Thank you.
Our distinguished guest speaker, the representative from the Emir of Kano, Dokajin Kano, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We have had an excellent presentation by Dr. Kingsley Moghalu, what I would like to refer to as an excellent exposition on the state of affairs in our country, Nigeria, presently, on the predicament of the youth in our country, the challenges they face, the opportunities open to them, and the prospects of their future role as it would affect repositioning and transforming our country. These are very, very important points, and Dr. Sufi Said, the discussant, has also added very important points to this discussion. And I think for me, although I'm the chairman and I will have an opportunity at some point to do closing remarks, I want to point out more specifically what we should consider as take home from this discussion today. First and foremost, I think is the point made by the guest speaker, which is that you have to get involved as youth in our political processes, most especially, and in our general political economy processes in our country. It's absolutely necessary. There should be no complacency. There should be no apathy. You cannot withdraw, and you must get involved. And if you must get involved, don't just get involved for involvement's sake. You must also bring your critical thinking faculties to bear in terms of the choices you make, in terms of the responsibilities you assume, and in terms of what contributions you can make to moving our country forward. This is very, very important. There are so many different levels and gradations of participation in the political process. And unfortunately, people think we want to start at the top. We want visibility, and we want make an impact almost immediately. And it doesn't happen like that. You must begin at the appropriate level of involvement. You must begin in organization. And one of the most terrible challenges in our country today is that we tend to agonize, and nobody wants to spare the time and the energy in organization. And it is the youth who have the energy, who have the vibrancy, who have the capacity to help in organization. You must get involved in organization. What do I mean by organization? At the community level, we've talked about the abysmal participation of youth, even in elections. And elections are fundamental. Very, very fundamental to deepening democracy in our country and to ensuring that we select the right kind of leaders that can give us quality government. Because when we talk about good governance, it's all about the quality of governance. What it provides, what it delivers, how the resources of the country are harnessed and channeled appropriately. So elections are very, very important. And elections will not deliver quality governance if they do not have integrity. So it's very, very important we pay attention to electoral integrity. And electoral integrity is not just the business of the Electoral Commission alone. It is the business of all citizens. We have to get involved. We have to make sure the process is transparent. No country in this world has enough employed personnel in the Electoral Commission to conduct election, isn't it? The overwhelming majority of people who actually conduct election and who can have a bearing on electoral integrity are volunteers. Volunteers. INEC, at the best of times when I was there, we had no more than 15,000 permanent staff all over this country. And to conduct elections, we have to use the NYSC, where we get about 300,000 volunteers. We have to come to universities to get students in the penultimate year who will then complement the work of the NYSC. And then we have to use professors and vice chancellors and lecturers to do the other things that are necessary on election day, whether it is compilation of results or actual declaration and return of results. And If we do not have volunteers, you cannot have elections. But if you do not have good quality volunteers with personal integrity, you cannot have electoral integrity. So there are so many ways that citizens and the youth and the individuals can contribute to good governance, to quality governance, to electoral integrity, and then to the right kind of choices that can give us the framework for progress and development in this country. So there are many ways you can participate. There are many avenues you can participate in order to add value to not only the electoral process, but to the political process and to the opportunities for transformations in this country. You can also play tremendous roles in your communities through civil society, non-governmental or community-based organizations for mobilization. Mobilize people to register, mobilize people to come out to vote, because it's not enough to register. You also have to ensure that you come out to vote. And when you come out to vote, you must vote properly and appropriately. And you have a lot of role as youth to play in your own communities. First of all, also, you have roles to play to ensure peaceful conduct of the elections in your communities. Recently on Facebook, here in Kano, we are seeing photographs of people carrying barandani and gora and all sorts of things. They are all youth. They are all mobilized from the communities. They are all given little money, if not drugs, in order to play this kind of role that politicians want them to play. The people who are dominant in the political process in our country today are dominant in a self-serving way and will want it to continue forever until they retire and until you retire, as our guest speaker has said. So nobody will open room for youth to participate in politics. Nobody will do that. You have to do it yourselves. And you can only do it through organization, through sensitization, through mobilization. And you must get involved with integrity. Because if there is no integrity, then the whole energy is wasted and the whole effort is wasted. So organize, get involved. And there are many ways in which you can get involved to add value. Of course, the highest level of participation then is to join politics and to also contest in elections. And you must explore all those ways. But do not ignore the other little ways that are also important and that can add value. And where you need, all you need is your energy and your intellectual capacity and a useful exuberance to be able to make an impact in those kinds of ways. But even though the dominant trend and tendency in our politics today is old people who are anti-youth and who are self-serving and who want to win elections by hook or by crook, there are also a few good people out there. Use your critical thinking. Identify those good people and forge alliances. You cannot be talking about youth versus old. You must be talking about good youth plus good old. And that is what we need to move this country forward. So it's very, very important, and that is the application of your own thinking faculties. It's very, very important. Because you can't say, look, as youth, we want to forget all the old and we want to strike out on our own. It's very, very important that we strike that kind of balance. We create those of alliances for us to be able to make progress and to develop further. So the last point I want to make is that the future is in your hands. You either use it or you squander it. And you must use it for yourselves, for the yet generation unborn. And you cannot abnegate that responsibility. Because if you do, it means we all mortgage the future of our country, and God help us all. That should not happen. We must organize, we must engage, and we must make positive impact in progress and development in our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was Professor Atahiru Jiga. Ladies and gentlemen, from the high table, can we take it that the chairman of the occasion has spoken on behalf of other members of the high table seated? That's a person of, that's the emir of Kano, ably represented by Dokajin Kano. Please, a rapturous round of applause for him.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلى الله على نبي الكريم. The chairman of the occasion, the guest speaker, members of the high table, the audience, Assalamu alaikum. Please bear with me, I have Qatar. I don't know whether you are hearing me. I'm here to represent His Highness, the Emir of Kano, Muhammad Sanusi II. He wished to be here, but because of other engagements, he asked me to represent him. His mind is here. When I come here, he called me and asked me, I hope you are there. I said, I'm here with the professors and other people here. So he was very happy. Looking by the Nigerian Constitution, a youth is anybody who is 18 to 35 years of age. From the previous speakers, we were made to understand the youth compose a very substantial percentage of the Nigerian population. His Highness always want the youth to look back to their home values, what they were taught when they were young, the values, the beliefs, the characters that we were taught when we were young. Everybody knows that is the best of the time, and the parents were the best of the teachers in teaching us how to live, how to respect, how to worship our Lord. His Highness is always wondering whether the youth are ready to take the mantle of the leadership of the country. Because, as the saying goes, the youth are the leaders of tomorrow. And there is no doubt we are going to be the leaders of tomorrow. But are you ready to take the mantle of the leadership? Because somebody brought a census to His Highness last time about drug addiction. 95% of the drug addict in Kano are youth. Anytime you are watching a news item, whenever there is a religious ethnic crisis, you will see youth in the forefront, burning, maiming, and doing many other things. Whenever there is an election, the youth has to be called to be sensitized. Everybody knows the country needs an intervention. We should be prayerful, and beyond that, we should put an action. Let's start something. All the leaders who are elected are from us. If we are careful and decide who to elect by looking at his characters, as Professor Moghalu said, his track record, his confidence, his capacity, and his character, I'm sure we will get where we want to go. But now, at times, when the time of election comes, it will be one kind. Everybody knows the way we are trying to elect our leaders. So we should have a sync so that we have good leaders. Remain blessed. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
want to stand on the existing protocol, but I must pay my tribute to the high table people. The chairman of the occasion and the person of Professor Moghalu, whom I happen to know, but it's a long time because of my interaction with Central Bank of Nigeria in those days when the President Emir of Kano was the governor of Central Bank. Faruku can attest to that. Thank you, sir. Professor Atari Jega, my lecturer, my mentor in those days in Bayero University, when I'm doing my second degree in Bayero University. He has always been very instrumental to our lives. And Dr. Sufi, my comrade in arms, we have been struggling together to make Nigeria great. And we will not stop. We are still going on that. Yes. Madam Faruku Shehu, a childhood brother and a friend, we are still in the same struggle. The coordinator of Mumbai House, and other distinguished guests on the high table. The youth, I salute you today as Nigerian. Every day they call you, you are the leaders of tomorrow. Did you get the leadership? No. Every day they will call you, the youth are our leaders of tomorrow. But it's gimmick. You must stand up and get that leadership. As Professor Jega said, there must be collaboration between the youth and the old. The good old, not every old. The creditable old. We need the exuberance of the youth and the good people that are old or retiring as a team to make Nigeria great. So let us team up together. We are not tired. We are still looking for you to team up and make Nigeria great. But you must stand up to get your mantle of leadership that has been stolen over the years. Yes. Well, all my life, I've been an investment banker. I've been a consultant. I've worked with the President Emir of Kano in those days in Icon Merchant Bank. He has been a great leader for us. As a colleague, he was our teacher and our mentor, and even up to today, he's still giving us direction. Thank you very much for the representative of the Emir, the Dokaj in Kano. I'm sure I will extend this message to the Emir of Kano. Thank you. Well, I've been involved in youth development over the years. I went to the formation of Kano Youth Empowerment Development Initiative in collaboration with the Kano Chamber of Commerce. Today we have a data bank of unemployed youth of over 500,000 youth, and our data bank is still open for the youth to register. We are doing collaboration to see how we can engage the youth to get employment, to get seminars, to get trained, to get a skill of what they can do today. If you go to the Chamber of Commerce today, we have a desk of youth empowerment scheme. How do we empower our youth to know what is happening in Nigeria, to have something doing, to stop roaming about the streets? Because as the chairman said, we have 60 million youths, and I'm telling you, over 50% of those youths are unemployed, between the ages of 18 and 35. Today, we have done a census in Kano. You go to Gidan Murtala today, from Gidan Murtala to Bayero University, you can have at least 2,000 people roaming about from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day. You go to Zaria Road, you see the same people. Go to Katana Road, you see the same people. Go to Zoo Road, you see the same people. What are we doing? What are we doing with these people? They are roaming about. They don't have anything to do. From morning till evening. Some will even turn to begging. You just stand in a car and they'll start asking you for money. Because we have not engaged them properly to start doing something for their life. I will tell you a lot of questions being asked today by the youth. We had a seminar on the youth in Abuja. What they asked me today, they said, every year, the federal government of Nigeria will say, I budgeted 5 trillion, 8 trillion. Where is the money? Where is the money going to? We are still unemployed. We are not doing anything. And every day they will tell you we have budgeted 8. Today, 2018, 8.7 trillion has been budgeted. Have you seen the money? No. That's where we are. I can tell you what the chairman is saying. Over 66% of that budget goes into debt servicing. Then what do you gain from it? There are so many initiatives from either central bank, from Bank of Industry, from Bank of Agriculture. I can go on and on that. I can even give you some list that I was looking at over the years. If you look at what is coming up from Central Bank today will tell you we have a real sector support fund of 300 billion. It has been thrown into the system. Where is the money? As the chairman is saying, you need people with knowledge to implement this money. People will start saying, okay, this money is going for infrastructure. But what do you do with infrastructure and you don't have something to do? We need people, the technocrats must be knowledgeable to apply this money. I can go on and on. We have micro, small, medium enterprise. We have 220 billion. We have agricultural credit guarantee scheme. We have 200 billion. We have money from Sweden, over 75 billion. We have entertainment fund, 32 billion. We have hotel and leisure fund, 300 billion. We have pharmaceutical and health sector fund, 200 billion. We have textile fund, over 300 billion. Are you employed? Where is all this money going to? So you see, I can go on and on. What of Bank of Agriculture? You have Unforced Borrows Program. All these monies are being thrown to the states. And I can tell you, the states will sit down, get the politicians, start distributing this money, and at the end of the day, recovery will be a problem. Over 2 billion has been sent under Unforced Borrows Program from Bank of Agriculture. Where is the money? Are the youth being empowered? Or are we still recycling this money between the old people? People that are still taking this money and they go and increase the number of wives. So honestly, this sin is still with us and it's still eating on us. And we sit down and look at what is happening in this country. Money is being rolled out every blessed day from Nigeria. But the youth are still impoverished. The people are still poor. The infrastructures are still not there. Every day we talk of this and we do seminars, we do symposiums, we send things to the economic management team, we send things to the government, but nothing is happening. So I'm telling you, the only solution, as Professor Atairu Jega said, is you must start making formations. You must start making associations. You must start educating yourself. You must be forming fresher groups that will graduate into political parties, that will enhance the movement from how we can drag away the old team that are not creditable and bring in the younger generations to rule this country. And I hope this thing, we are taking a lesson from it from today. We must stand the way other countries are doing. Go to Europe now. There is nobody that is 60 years. Go to France. So many countries, the youth are taking over because they have good generational ideas. Things that can move a country. Not the old idea that somebody will sit, wait for budget. He cannot initiate anything by himself. He's just waiting for budget subvention. Today, if federal government stop giving about 20 states money, they will be in problem. So many states were given money. Up to today, they are not even paying salaries. Because they are not engaging the youth to be protected. They're just sitting there waiting for subvention, waiting for money to come from the federation account. And when this money comes, they will sit down and start talking of contracts. At the end of the day, even salary is not being paid. I can go on and on this. So many packages have come out from the federal government. Paris Club reforms have been given to the states. BAT money has been shared. Subvention money has been shared. Excess food account has been shared. Up to today, there is a state that has not paid salaries for 6 months. So what are we talking? Where is the money? So let us rise up to our own expectation. Let us start struggling now, make formations, make pressure groups, so that we take from the old brigade that are not worthy of leadership. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was Dasuki I. Galadinchi. He is the Executive Director of Millennium Investment Trust Limited. Please can we put our hands together for him, please? Let me make this very clear so that I don't get myself in trouble. I don't have my head on the guillotine. I'm not trying to shut members of the high table from contributing. We are only doing this in view of time constraints. So please permit me, the chairman of this occasion, to take like 4 or 3 contributions from members of the audience. Please, your contribution should be thus. if you are asking the question, you should state it clearly at the onset that you're asking the question. And as well, if you wish to contribute. So you state your name, and then you state clearly whether you are asking the question or you are making a contribution. We'll just take 3. Should we take 3? Mr. Chairman, 3 or 4? I think we should take all the questions, all the contributions, so that the answers can be streamlined. Okay, yes, okay. So we will try to balance it. We'll take, say, 2 ladies and then 2 gentlemen. Okay, the gentleman from behind, far behind, with a black cap. Please, can you come down quickly? Okay. I might reach you. Please, you state clearly your name, and then whether it's a question or a contribution you wish to make.
My name is Sunday Olabi. I speak for Katsina State Youth for Sustainable Change. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I will just rest on existing protocols. Now, I want to speak to 2 redundant epistemologies that I think this gathering has addressed. Now, the first one is that the youth are the leaders of tomorrow. Now, it is clear that tomorrow never comes, because for every tomorrow, there will always be a tomorrow. Now, the second redundant epistemology I want to speak to is the fact that, and my lecturers are here, we have been told over time, I think Karl Marx in his historical survey of Europe and North America came to the conclusion that the process of production of economic life conditions the social, political, and intellectual life processes in general. But for Nigeria, we know that the political determines the economic. So when we come for such gatherings, we have seen people who have commercialized the predicament of the young people in Nigeria. Then they begin to reel out statistics of all the interventions that have been put in place to enable us become entrepreneurial, kaza. But the issue is, Professor Moghalu and Professor Jega here have hit the nail, the issue directly. Without a PVC, which I have here, you cannot determine the kinds of people that rule you. Now, all the intervention programs that have been listed will all fail when politics fail. Now, I want to speak to young people like me who are here. The core essence of youthfulness is usefulness. And as far as the Nigerian tragedy is concerned today, the best usefulness you can put your life is to have a PVC. Thank God Mambaya House has always been a ground for galvanizing of action since the days of Malam Aminu Kano. So I don't want us to take anything away from here about going to be joining whatever economic interventions that there are. The classic case of irresponsibility on the part of any young Nigerian today is not to have a PVC. So my take home, or what I want to give you to take home is, you remain the most irresponsible Nigerian. As a matter of fact, you are a problem to our generation as a young person. If after this gathering, you do not take advantage of the continual voters registration that INEC is currently carrying out. And there's also a caveat. Some people go to queue for this card, and after a few hours, maybe because of certain glitches, they will say they are going back. But the same people spend 6 hours queuing for an international passport. Now, thank God the realities have come to dawn on us. If we don't sanitize our nation, very soon, we will not even be able to go outside the country again. So, on a final note, no difference can be made with indifference. The only way you can prove to us as a Nigerian young person that you're not indifferent about the predicament of our nation is to get your permanent voter's card. Thank you very much.
Okay. Can we take a lady?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nafisa Muhammad from ABU Zaria. Mine is more of a contribution, and the other side is a question I want to pose to women youths. God bless my father who will say, "Nas and siyasa." In English, I hate politics. And I happen to be this arrogant girl in the family who loves politics. You want me, Bana san siyasa. I hate politics. Koda ta makaranta ce. I will say, Baba, if you stop if you stop me from participating in politics, I have something to do, especially about young girls running about the streets begging. I feel like crying at times when I see young girls of 5 to 7 years begging in the markets, in the hospitals, just because their parents are not well to do. Why? Because one day I will be a mother too. The question is, as young ladies who want to participate in politics and having fathers like my father, who will say, "Not in siyasa," what will we do? They are traditionalists. My father is a very, very well-known traditionalist. He will tell me, "Bana san siyasa, ko da ta makaranta ce." God bless me now that I am a politician in my school. I participate from behind doors. Fortunately for me, I am in the SRC Representative Council now, participating fully, even though it is against my father's will. But I know with the good guidance I have behind my mind, God will see me through. So ladies, let's participate. No matter how, let's participate, please.
Nigerian youth is very simple. One, challenge itself is the solution. And challenge says everything that tests strength, skill, or ability, especially in a way that is interesting, a new and vibrant initiative to meet the challenges of 21st century is the solution of our problem. As you said, the guest speaker, you are talking of agriculture, you are talking of the youth. A youth of 20 years old make it possible in London, a village capital called John Harrison, for about 400 years ago, on a problem called longitude problem in a village capital. He has never gone to school, he has never gone to town, he's a youth, but he has fixed the country. You talk of agriculture, sir. Sir, I need your attention. Guest speaker. Okay, sir. You talk of agriculture on the early 70s. That was when agriculture began to come down. We rely on oil, and every day you will hear discovery of large quantities of oil everywhere. You understand? And we have almost 80 million people in this country. And the agriculture, the abandoned agriculture for fuel. You can imagine the southeast, where we come from. And far back as almost 40 years, the Malaysia took palm oil from here, go back to their country and invest on agriculture, creating wealth and work for their children.
Can you begin to round off your point?
Yes, I'm coming in. It's a youth problem. We can sleep here. If you want, the elite can go. We can solve our problem. Let us sleep and solve the problem once and for all. You are telling me round up. It's a problem, and you are telling me round up. What are you saying? We are here to solve the problem, youth of the problem of the youth. You are telling me round up. The Malaysians in the year 2012, by the year 2012, the Malaysians earned more than 15 billion sterling, pound sterling, 15 billion pound sterling. They earned annually because they exported it to the United States, the European Union, China, and India. About 24 trillion metric tons of palm oil in 2012 alone. Malaysians, they took it from Southeast, from a program called Palm to Palm of old Anambra State. And in this same 2012, the entire non-oil export in Nigeria stood at $2.97 billion. Food and allied products, non-oil export, total, 2.9.
Please help summarize your issues, please. The program will be stalled, please. We are so sorry, we apologize for this. Thank you very much.
But the solution finally, sir,
yes.
We need a commission, a National Health and Fiscal Commission. That is the only solution that will solve these children. The education, the health sector will go on its way. The Mr. President will drop a minister. He will never run the Ministry of Health with a minister, so that it will be pure professionalism. And the other side of the thing, he will drop Minister of Sports. It will become an youth affairs. We will work on that. It will address $11 billion. And all this child abuse, it will not be there. We will handle it in our subsequent discussions. And apart from that, apart from the $11 billion that is going to attract.
Thank you.
The problem of drug abuse, it will settle it. It's a workable solution. As Elamin says, critical thinking. It's the critical access that we need. It's there. I will prove it outside this discussion. I will prove it for you. Yes, it will solve our problem.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Halira Amanat from Ahmad Bello University. I just have a little contribution to the discussion of today. Well, we the youths, we have been advised to participate and bring ourselves out in society to show that okay, we do exist. But my concern is the females. Yes, in Nigeria, the South, the West, the women are more active in things in relation to this. But when you come to the North, we are very conservative in nature. And it's quite hard for the women to actually come out and participate in things like this. So I really hope that something is done about this so the women can actually stop being scared of participating in things like this and come out and show that they exist. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My name is Halima Salis Lawan from GGSS Orai Bapa. I have a question. My question is that why are the other affairs in the government think that the youth have not reached age to lead the country? That's my question. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we close this discussion. Please understand that we're doing this simply in view of time constraints. We can't take every question. It's logical, it's understandable. Please, we're very sorry. I will invite Professor Kingsley Moghalu to address some of the questions that have been raised. Thank you.
Quickly before Prof arrives, please, we are going to move forward to panel discussion immediately after his response. And the panel discussion composed of Professor Jega, Professor Moghalu, Dr. Osman Bugat, who is on his way, he's just arriving, and Muhammad Kabir Abdullah and a lady, Faiza Shehu. So please stay with us. And immediately after it, we are going for lunch. We will eat our food and come back and continue with the interactive session. I'm insisting that we are going to have an interactive session, so everybody should please shield his sword for now. Please, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're still quite a way from closing the program, but I think we can all agree that it has been a wonderful morning. Wonderful experience for a lot of us, certainly a very good experience for me to interact with you and listen to your concerns. The young man Sunday from Katsina, well, his speech was so final that it does not call for a response. So I think he closed the matter. He did a QED, Quad Erat Demonstrandum. But let me answer a few questions. First of all, and this is what I'm most passionate about, female participation in politics and in society. Do you know that the Gender Gap Index of the World Economic Forum that was just done, I think, in 2017, ranked Nigeria 122 out of 144 countries in terms of gender participation. That is to say, we are nearly bottom last. That is tragic. It is tragic because any society where women are suppressed, where women are discriminated against, where women are the subject of gender bias, can never achieve its full potential. Such a society can never achieve its full potential. Let me refresh your mind. Women are 49% of Nigeria's population. That means They're almost somewhere in the region of nearly 90 million. And you tell me that you can keep that large number of human beings suppressed, disempowered, and you think you're going anywhere? You're not going anywhere. Go and look at the societies that are doing well. First of all, gender discrimination is a global problem. Let's understand that. But then it becomes a matter of degree in each country, how bad it is. In Africa, for example, you have Rwanda, which is one of the highest in the world in terms of female. About nearly 60% of the Rwandan parliament is made up of women. In Nigeria, only about 6% of our National Assembly is women. So, I think, and especially here in the North, it's a problem nationwide, but it's also a big problem here in the North. And I call and I urge the traditional rulers in the North, the political leaders in the North, to focus very sincerely and very passionately on the matter of the exclusion of women in society. It's very, very important. The women have a right to vote, just like, let me be very clear. Men and women are different. God is not a fool. There's a reason he made them different. But it does not mean that any one of the other is inferior. There's a difference between difference and being inferior. It can be different, but we should all have equality of opportunity. That's what we're saying. That women should have the same opportunities as men. In political leadership, in many of the countries in Asia, some of which are Islamic countries, they are led by women. Whether it's Bangladesh, several countries in that part of the world. So the point I'm trying to make is that, and when you look at the economy, for example, microfinance, let me just give an example of microfinance. The reason that microfinance has not worked as well as it should have in this country is because we started off with the wrong model of microfinance. In Asia, where they started microfinance, it was actually done for women primarily. A lot of women engage in small-scale business in our African culture. We need to empower them with microfinance. Instead, we started microfinance with bankers who lost out from the consolidation of the banking sector in 2004, 2005. They went down market and started setting up microfinance banks. And they set it up in the same culture that they were running commercial banks. So they became smaller versions of commercial banks. You see a microfinance bank with a very lovely, beautiful building somewhere. Then the car, they have a big car written with the name of the microfinance. You come into the office, one man in a suit is telling you that he's a microfinance banker. This is a joke. That is not what microfinance is. That's just living large, like investment bankers, like my friend. So, but that's different. So, because of that, a lot of the microfinance banks here failed and had problems. If we were to go back to the original intention of microfinance and focus it a lot on women who are disempowered economically and discriminated against, we will find a lot of economic growth that is inclusive. That is growth from the bottom up. Why? Because women handle credit better than men. It's a scientifically and empirically established fact. The man gets the loan, starts scratching his head. Maybe I marry another wife. The woman gets the loan, she applies it conscientiously. So, it is unfortunate that the Gender Equality Bill was defeated in the National Assembly. And I think it must be on the agenda of the next leadership of Nigeria from 2019 that the Gender Equality Bill must return and it must be passed. we shouldn't shut out one half of our population. So we should support our female, members of our female population who want to be involved in politics, who want to be involved in the professions, who want to be involved in business. We need to move into the 21st century. It's not a matter of religion. When you go to Dubai, my vision is that the northern part of this country should become like Dubai. Dubai is also Islamic. And there are many other countries that have that culture. Saudi Arabia, which has been a very conservative society, you notice now they're opening up. Women are now driving. They were not driving before. So change is coming. I'm not an expert on Islamic theology, so I will not go into that. Let's leave it for the experts. But I think that no religion requires that women be oppressed. The last time I checked, Queen Amina of Zaria was not a man. So there are examples in history to show us that we can develop a more equitable society by supporting and encouraging our gender. And that means to end up on women, the only way, one of the very important ways we can improve gender equality in this country is not just to support women, but to support men who are gender equality friendly to come into public office. Because those men combined with, it's the men that create the gender problem. So they must be part of the solution. Without the men, you can't solve this problem. Yeah, the men must be involved in solving this problem. If you just leave it to a women's issue only, it will not be solved. So the men who feel that this situation needs to be changed need to get very involved, and oppose domestic violence, oppose gender discrimination. These things are wrong. These things are just very, very wrong. So it's part of the new leadership generation we're trying to build up in Nigeria. And if you leave the bad old, not the good old, as Professor Jega said, I love that distinction. The good old and the bad old. If you leave the bad old in charge, we will never move forward on gender issues. Because that is part of the problem of the bad old. They are corrupt, they are selfish, they are gender discriminatory, and so on. So we need the good old, the youth, and the women working together to build a coalition to create a new type of leadership in Nigeria that is fairer to every aspect of our population. So I think that's very important. Yeah. Now, there was a professor that spoke a lot on oil, agriculture, Malaysian development, and so on. Yeah. That was a lecture. And I think it was also very illuminating. You're right in many of the things you say, and I thank you for making those comments. The problem we have, I said it during the lecture, the Nigerian economy will never rise unless and until you have knowledgeable and competent technocrats in political power in Nigeria. For as long as the current political class continues to be dominant, you cannot have economic transformation because that is not their priority, number one. Number two, their priority is to be in power for themselves and in the name of their ethnic group and in the name of their religion. But the overall members of those ethnic groups and religion are not benefiting nothing from them. Nothing. Is quality of life is poor. So until you have a group that comes into power that is really passionate about Nigeria as a country and about all the 180 million of us, regardless of tribe or tongue, and that has the knowledge base to address practical economic questions, we will not make progress. The reason Malaysia is a case study, when I was deputy governor of the central bank, the governor, Sanusi, and I were really very enamored of Malaysia. We established a lot of relationships with the Bank Negara, Malaysia, the central bank, and the governor of Bank Negara, who became like a mentor to now Emir Sanusi and myself and my colleagues was a woman. Was a woman. Brilliant woman. She was governor for a long time. So Malaysia has figured out the path to economic transformation. And that path is this. You must move away from dependence on natural resources, including subsistence agriculture. We must move in agriculture into agro-processing. We must move into using scientifically high-yield seeds to produce more over less areas of land. We must move more into innovation so that we can deal with desertification. That is a problem in the north and creating problems including herdsmen. There are so many of these things that are interconnected, but you need the intellectual bandwidth. You need the mental infrastructure to address it. So you should be looking for your next set of leaders at people who understand how to address these problems so that we can make progress. To the young lady, who's secondary school lady, in speaking about women's rights and their role in the North and in Nigeria, of course, I spoke to the two ladies who raised the question. The young lady who raised, why do elders think the youth are not old enough? No, it's not that we think that, the elders think. I'm not yet an elder, so I will not count myself. But it's not that it's not that the elders think that the youth are not old enough. I think it's a question of whether the youth are prepared enough. So it's not about age, I think. I think it's about preparation. And I think myself and Professor Jega addressed these issues about how the youth should engage in politics. Vote massively. And as you're voting, get engaged in the various aspects, the spectrum of democratic engagement. Professor Jega lined them out, including youth volunteer participation in elections, structural office holding, and so on and so forth. So this is the way to go. So it's really about preparation. It's not so much about age. In the years before independence, a lot of our leaders were very young. Yeah, that's partly because of capacity in the system, but those young people who were in their 20s, and Nahoro, who moved the Declaration of Independence, and so on, in their 20s and early 30s, they developed themselves very quickly and acquired a lot of experience. And this is what we want for our youth today. Get engaged, get involved, develop yourself, and assert yourself. Leadership will not be handed over to you. You have to claim it, and it will come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Kingsley Moghalu.